have been granted very, very many. I'm a lucky girl. So I'll try not to get schmaltzed up here, but anyway. Some of you are aware that I recently was the recipient of a very wonderful gift by a very generous friend, Jeannie Nelson. She came up to me a few months ago and she said, Susan, I've booked a cruise, a week-long cruise, through Chris Chenoweth's Positive Christianity Ministries, and I would like you to accompany me as my guest. Wow, I was just stunned. And, I thought about it, and finally I couldn't, it was just, I couldn't understand it. So I said to Jeannie, asked her, Jeannie, why me? She said, bless her heart, she said, because you've always been so nice to me, and I think you deserve it. That stunned me even more. I couldn't imagine what I'd done to earn that kind of wonderful gift. Anyway, those of you that know me well know that it's very difficult for me to accept gifts. I want to be the giver. However, some of my dear friends have pointed out that they too like to give, and that by my not accepting their gifts, Char, I am denying them the pleasure of giving. Point made, lesson learned, and I am I'm really working hard on being more accepting of the many gifts that I've received. I am so blessed with so many wonderful friends, and they're givers, and my family, they're givers. And I just, count my blessings every day for what I do have. I want to share with you just an example of good friends and giving. About 2 months ago, my water heater went out. I live in an older house, and of course, eventually everything dies, including the living room house. But anyway, so it just completely quit. And being unemployed, I don't have the money to fix it, and so I was running back and forth to my daughter's, who lives less than a mile away, showering. I was heating my water on the stove to do my dishes and, trying to grin and bear it. And my son found out about it, and he bought me a brand new water heater. And fine, what do I do now? For some reason, Larry and I were talking about something, Larry Davison, and he found out about my plight. And bless his heart, he came over at no charge to me, spent a number of hours installing my water heater so that I could have hot water. Thank you, Larry. It's a constant thing. A couple of months after that, I noticed some water bubbles in one of my kitchen walls. And I couldn't figure out where that was coming from, so I called Larry and I said, can you figure this out for me? And he climbed up on my roof, and it was a very simple fix, but he took care of it again. And then 2 weeks ago, guess what? No hot water again. So I called the hot water heater manufacturer, assuming that I had received a defective water heater. And Larry had told me, it's a good brand, it's a good water heater, it should last you a long time. So I just figured, well, it was just one of those lemons. And so they said, well, we'll send a local representative out to take care of it for you. I had to wait another week. I had to wait a week. It was Christmas, and I just couldn't believe it. But anyway, to make a long story short, the guy comes out, he says, there's nothing wrong with your water heater. You have a leak in your hot water pipe, which explained why I kept hearing running water. Oh. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Well, guess where it was going? All that hot water was draining out of my house, somewhere. And it's not an easy fix. I live on a house that's built on a concrete slab. It's a major thing to have this dug up, pipes all rerouted through the attic, I mean, where it should have been done to begin with. And, you know, it's going to be about $1,000 repair. Oh, good, you know, I just have all sorts of money to pay for that. So I called Larry again. I wanted a second opinion, and he took a look at it, and sure enough, it's, you know, this major problem. And Larry and I sat down afterwards. He said, can we talk for just a minute? I said, sure. And he said, think about these problems that you've been having with water in your house. And these recent ones were not the only ones. I also, you know, have perpetual problems with my bathroom sink. I mean, on and on and on. It's an old house. What do you expect? Anyway, so he said, you know, water represents the flow of life. And maybe this is telling you that this is a good time to get out of your house. It's sucking the life out of you, you know, in so many words. So anyway, that's just an example, a couple of examples of wonderful gifts that I received from my friends. When our bunker group was having a catered dinner to celebrate Christmas, my dear friend Shar knew that I didn't have money to pay for it. And so she took care of it. And she insisted that I take it. It was very hard for me to do, but I accepted it, and we all had a wonderful time. And recently, actually it was last Sunday, Rosie was all excited about going to this concert that's coming up. And she said, are you going? And I was walking up the parking lot. I said, no, I can't afford it. So she comes following me out to the parking lot with a ticket to the concert to go with her. Am I blessed or what? You know, I mean, it's endless. So anyway, getting back to the cruise. I love you too, Rosie. I love you too. And they had the joy of giving to me, which I didn't want to deny. But anyway, getting back to the cruise, on November 10th, Jeannie and I set sail out of Fort Lauderdale, and we boarded the largest cruise ship in the world, the Oasis of the Seas. I mean, this thing is gigantic. It accommodates 6,200 passengers and has a crew of 2,400. On board the ship is everything you can possibly imagine, including a full green, lush park going down the length of the ship. Had little shops and restaurants off of it. It was just a fun little experience to wander down the path. It was very, very fun. And as I mentioned before, Chris Chenoweth had put together, you know, a package deal for those that wanted to participate in this spiritual journey. And part of that is the days that we were at sea and not at port, Chris would conduct seminars and workshops. And he picked a really kind of fun theme, the Wizard of Oz. And he based his, he had metaphors, analogies, whatever, on the characters that were in the movie. And it was just such it was very empowering. I didn't make it to all the seminars, but the ones that I did attend were very empowering to me. And one of the best parts about it is to be in the same room with so many positive, like-minded people. The energy was incredible. It's just awesome. So anyway, today I would like to take us down and up the yellow brick road. And I'd like to use some of Chris's analogies and metaphors, but I'm going to put my own spin on it, okay? And the way I look at the movie may not be the same as everybody else does. I mean, there's some obvious metaphors in the movie, but I think we all take our own interpretation of any book or movie that we read, and we make it our own. So that's kind of what I like to do. So first of all, let's start with the road. Why yellow? Well, yellow is a happy color. It's a color of sunshine. It's bright, it's sunny. It's one color of enlightenment, luminescence, awakening, and wisdom. And being a sunny color, I look at it as sunshine being hope and renewal. And I also look at the yellow brick road as being our spiritual pathway. I feel that we must go down that road and overcome the obstacles that we find in that road before we can possibly go up to our highest happiness and fulfillment. So, how do you overcome some of those obstacles in the road? I know that every one of us in this room has had their obstacles to deal with. Getting back to me, it's not all about me, but I'm a person that I can relate to, because I know you well. And I have found, being unemployed and having a real tough time trying to find a job. It's not that I don't have the education and experience. It's just, it's not happening, And as a result of that, I'm living on unemployment, which isn't a lot. I'll probably lose that in another day, unless Washington gets its head together and decides to do some compromising and whatever. So, I'm faced with having to sell my house in order to get out of debt. And it's been something I've been struggling with for months, and I've cried, fighting it all the way. But then, as Larry pointed out, water is the flow of life. And that house is sucking the life out of me right now, financially and whatever. And so, what do I do? Well, in my case, I draw my strength from God. He's given me a positive attitude and a great sense of humor. I was talking to Jeannie this morning on the phone, and I said, what's really scaring me, Jeannie, is I'm losing that sense of humor and positive attitude. I can't let that happen. I can't. So anyway, I'm sorry, bear with me. So what I've learned is I have to let it come and go through God and turn it all over to God. The wicked witch to me signifies adversity and danger. How we handle the witch is up to us. With God's help, I feel that we can overcome that adversity. Jesus constantly endured adversity, danger, hatred. And what did he do? What did he do? He faced every challenge with love, compassion, and courage. And going on to the scarecrow now. The scarecrow brainless creature that he is. You know, poor guy doesn't have a brain. He can't make up his mind of what he's going to do. And so he does nothing. And what is indecision? It's a decision to do nothing. I think it's a cop-out to do nothing and let other people make those decisions for you and do your thinking for you. Sometimes we become numb with some of the failures that we, the Scarecrow thought he was a failure. I know I've thought I was a failure on many occasions. And we tend to sometimes become numb about this and just not face up to it. We can't let that happen. I mean, we've got to overcome some of the obstacles in our life to ever realize success. And we're never going to know that success if we sit by and do nothing about it. We have to create that ourselves. I'm working on it. I am a piece in action of work. A lot has to be done. Now the Tin Man, poor guy, doesn't have a heart. And if you don't have a heart, how can you love? And if you don't love, then what are you? Are you hatred? The rust on the Tin Man is hatred. It's corrosion of the soil. And the rain is the storm of life. But the oil is the love. And when the Tin Man receives the love and accepts the love, he then can go down or up that path with his new friends, that path to his happiness. Remember that people don't fall in love with you. I don't know if you've heard this before, but they fall in love with the feeling they have when they're with you. In the movie, The Accidental Tourist, William Hurt's character is in a hotel room with his estranged wife, who's played by, I think it was Kathleen Turner, but don't quote me on that. But anyway, they've had a pretty rocky time with their marriage, and they decided to take a weekend together and try to salvage anything that may be left in the marriage. And William Hurt says to Kathleen Turner, I think that's who it was, and of course his character, you know, it doesn't matter how much you love a person. What matters is who you are when you're with that person. Now, I watched that movie shortly after I had my marriage had ended after 19 years. And I was sorting through things and trying to figure out what went wrong. And that statement that came from William Hurt just hit me like a ton of bricks. That was it. That's a major thing that was wrong with my marriage. I was allowing myself to be manipulated and not to be my real self. I was trying to be somebody, something, the perfect wife that my husband would want. And so, of course, it's going to fail. Gotta be yourself. Now, the lion's cowardice to me represents disorganized thinking and emotional paralysis. Strength and hope can come in hopeless situations. It means to trust in God and know His strength. Pardon me, losing my voice again. In the 27th Psalm, verses 1 through 7, we read, The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise up against me, in this I will be confident. Searching for shortcuts such as get rich quick schemes. That's so hard for me to say. To me, it's just a cowardly way to reach success. It's a lazy way to me, you know. What's wrong with hard work in reaching your goals? You know, it's not easy. It's not easy, but when you want something badly enough, it often entails a lot of hard work. And we can't be afraid of that. We've got to just do it. And, you know, you've heard so many times, we've all heard, enjoy your work and the money will follow. Well, the money comes in all forms. You know, you can be Mother Teresa, who really enjoys her work. And she is rich with blessings. You know, money doesn't have to buy things. Money can be peace of mind, yeah, sure, but the real money in my life are my friends and my family. Now, Toto, meaning total, represents to me authenticity, fearlessness, and unconditional love. He didn't have fear of criticism. That would mean to value others more than yourself. He knew that God doesn't criticize, God encourages. When Toto had the opportunity to escape the wicked witch's castle in order to try to save Dorothy from her imprisonment there, Toto had no fear whatsoever. He knew what to do. He knew it was going to work, and he trusted God to lead him to the friends that would eventually make it possible for Dorothy to be free. And the Munchkins, of course, represent our childlike qualities. The child in all of us. They forgive easily. They love easily. They're very teachable. And they're content in the moment. Not every moment is a content moment, but if we can just find peace in some of the adversity, then maybe we can be like a Munchkin too. On the cruise, I had the opportunity to meet a couple from Oklahoma. Their names were Roy and Emma. Lovely people. They were also part of Chris's Positive Christianity group. And Emma was telling me that in the state of Oklahoma, no one has ever survived a train collision. About 3 months before the cruise, Emma and Roy's son was involved in such a collision. It was a tragic accident. And their son lost both of his legs. But miraculously, he survived. And while he was in the hospital, he clinically died 9 times and went through multiple surgeries. So when it came time for Emma to visit him in the hospital, you can imagine how much apprehension she had. She had no idea what she was going to encounter. She had no idea what she was going to say, and had no idea what her son's reaction was going to be to the accident. So she very cautiously opened the door to his room. And as she did, he was putting down the phone, and he cheerfully greets her with, "Hi, Mom, I was just trying to call you." And she very quietly said, "How are you, son?" "Well, I'm fine, Mom. I'm still me. I just have shorter legs." Wow, what an awesome, positive guy. You know, I mean, he turned his very adverse situation into something positive. He still knew that he was the same person. God still saw him as a whole and perfect person. He just had shorter legs. The rainbow, coming to the end, shows us a place without trouble, a place of hope and wishful thinking. We get there by following the yellow brick road, our spiritual pathway. And as I said before, I think you need to go down that road and overcome all the demons and all the bad stuff. And then you can see the real light. You can find your emerald city, which is your happiness and your fulfillment. Now, when Dorothy got back home after her huge adventurous journey, she came back to black and white after living in such a colorful place. Now it's up to Dorothy to create the color in her life. How to do it. So, do you want to go into 2013 in a black and white world? If not, paint it. Happy New Year.